Hello, and welcome to Keeping It Real with Shannon Live. Because you don't know how it's going to turn out.
My kids empowered me to get out.
What's going on with this remote learning and in the midst of COVID?
Working for different elected officials, learning and understanding how to put the community first.
Hi, and welcome to Keeping It Real with Shannon. Thank you for joining us tonight. We really have a hot topic to talk about this. As you know, everything is on fire now with our public advocate and our Mayor Eric Adams. So we have two special guests that's going to be joining us to shed some light on what this issue is. So, Dr. Vanessa.
Absolutely. And we don't want to have any shots fired, so we'll sure we get the conversation good. But our two special guests tonight is Mr. Charles Billups. He's a retired correction officer and the chairman for the Grand Council of Guardians. And our other special guest tonight is Ms. MIchelle Randall-Williams. She's a retired first grade detective at NYPD from the Executive Protection Intel Bureau, and she's an independent officer with NOBLE, and that's the National Organization of Black Law Executives. Please welcome our guests to the show tonight.
Welcome. Thank you so much for coming on. So we can talk about this hot topic with this fight going on, a three-way, I guess it's three-way with our public advocate, Jamani, and our mayor, Eric Adams, and the city council about should policing be transparent. Now, I don't know what all this transparency they're arguing about or what they're talking about. They're trying to pass this bill and everything. And I think it's just gotten out of hand with the name calling the mayor a bratty kid and, all of this kind of stuff. And I don't know why we have to get into all of the name calling and stuff rather than trying to find a solution to whatever the problem is that you're trying, to resolve. So, since this is your background and you came from this, what do you think the problem is going on here and how they should be handling this? Because I know there's a better way than we always got to get on TV calling each other names or in the paper and stuff like that, which is totally unprofessional.
Totally unprofessional. But I think the solution is that this is two officials that need to come together, and clear understanding the transparency that's needed and trusting each other. Calling each other's names is not getting us any closer to the transparency that's needed from both sides, from the community as well as policing. And if you don't know what a police officer does in the jobs, we're the first ones that go run into incidents, problems, and situations. And if we're tied up with additional paperwork and data collecting and not giving the full attention to the community like we need to keep down the crime. And then we know the saying that snitch gets stitches. So if you put in all action, we need the community to help keep the crime down, and the police need them, and the community needs the police to make sure that everything is together. I think that's city council doesn't really know what police officers do and go through, and I would hope that the mayor, his hands are kind of like tied because he was a police officer and he now has to come in and try to bridge this together. But he knows that it takes two to sit down. You can't bully your way through this. You have to sit down, and two people have to come together, stop calling names and stop putting the blame on what the problem is, and stay on to the objective. Transparent, public safe.
So, Mr. Charles, what do you think?
Well, I could probably mirror what MIchelle is saying, but like I've been telling people all along, it should have been a conversation that should have been held in the very beginning, before the legislation was even drafted. People should have got together and got a chance to talk about the real issues and how it's going to affect the police department. Now, I can understand the reasoning why they pushing for transparency, because prior to Mayor Adams, there always been a history of issues trying to get information from the police department. whether it was data based on how many people were stopped, which led to the lawsuit of the stop and frisk, or just the idea of in the very beginning, when they first started out with the body cameras, it was a hesitant of even giving up the videos for the body cameras. So it's always been an issue, a past history of issues. But I think this time around, they should have came together and they should have sat down and had a real conversation about how it was going to affect today's time and the importance of making sure the police officers out there doing their job correctly.
So have that changed? Have that changed now that you can get information when you need it, or if people need information from the police department? Because that's some of the stuff that he's also saying, Jamani, was that they try to hide stuff at the police department, so you don't know exactly like what be going on and stuff. So do you see any change?
Well, you have to realize the department is very large. You're talking about over 37,000 people that works in the NYPD. And are there bad apples, or are there individuals who still do things they shouldn't do? I would say, yeah. It's in any place you go. You're always going to have somebody hiding something. But the overall concept still, with this new administration and these people and these individuals know each other, they still should have got together and sat down and said, we need to talk about this. How can we fix this? Or how can we make it more transparency where everybody can get what they want?
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that when there's that lack of understanding, and like we know historically, law enforcement community always had, but especially when it's become ethic issues, when you have whether it's the stop and frisk or the car stop regimental, what they have, but everything is recorded, right? Everything is recorded. I don't see any. I haven't heard any particular thing that the city council, the public advocate, have requested that they could not receive. Now, my biggest concern is that they get this information and you stopping people. How reluctant are the individuals being stopped are willing to give up the information? Because first of all, it's going to go into a database. If I'm stopped by police just because I'm asking for directions and they ask me for ID so they could do a report, why should I give them my ID, my information, and that puts me into a database? Have they thought about that?
And that's going to cause a problem. That's going to cause a problem, because if you stop me and I say, well, I'm not giving you my information or whatever, now you might want to bang me in the head, or you might want to put me on the arrest or something. You know what I'm saying? It's going to cause more problems, because some of that stuff you asking me, to me, is totally unnecessary. My thing would be is like, why you standing here wasting time with me? Why ain't you trying to help get these guns off the street with these young people shooting each other and killing each other every day, and all these stabbing that's going on? That's where the concentration should be at, not all this wanting to get information from whoever the police officers are talking to. We have real issues that needs to be dealt with. I mean, they stabbings, like what? I don't know how many a day is reported. Mm-hmm. Now we got a Syria of one stabbing of people. Thank God they finally got him. We just got so many other issues that we need to be dealing with this little light stuff with this. This is what I'm not getting.
But what they, this is a layer of things, as you stated, a layer of issues that have to be addressed and collectively has to be addressed. For one thing, the mental health issue. The mental health issue is now even compound with the immigration coming in. It's more,
exactly.
It may not be people on the street that's homeless. The mayor stated that there's nobody homeless that's in immigration. And I just went down the street today, and if it wasn't homeless, then I don't know what they were, because they didn't look like they were going any place but begging. So I mean, there's a layer of issues that city council and the mayor has to come together to address, and it's not just one problem. I mean, putting extra paperwork and things on to the police is not going to bridge the relationship with the community. Just like you said, they ask you for something and you don't give it to them. They have to go by protocol, and then all of a sudden something escalates. We have enough.
Right. Argument takes place. Yeah.
Well, see, but the difference.
So now they're stopping you for something, and something is going to escalate. But yes. That's why they got to come together. There's many layers that need to be addressed before you can get to the real problem. And putting all this burden on police officers is not the way to go. You know, they came together with the narcon use when Staten Island and was saying about the overdose rate and their kids dropping in the streets and ODing. Then they wanted to have the police department, you know, possess that. They carry that around, but you know, this is another burden. So when someone's getting raped or something else, you're addressing social issues that should be addressed by different agencies. You know, the police officers are they do a lot, but they're not psychologists. They're not social workers. They're not people that are trained to take care of everything.
Right. We see that too. Charles, what do you want to say?
Well, see, but the difference is it's not about a mental health issue. It's more about gathering or wanting information from NYPD. City Council is saying that NYPD is not coming forth with the information they're asking for. Now, the issue is it's not about all the stops. It's basically really only on one level. They talk about the one level stops. The level one is basically the simple interactions of you, somebody stopping by and saying, did you see somebody run by? Or are you having a nice day? Or you walk into a store and you ask the store owner, is everything okay? Or if you see a group of kids together on the corner, you will walk by, all right, fellas, hey, young ladies, what's happening, and things like that. So what Jamani is saying is that is that based off the level ones, they are not asking for individual names and stuff. They want to try to get categories or some type of statistics of who they are stopping, or asking questions. What age are they? What gender are they? What race are they? How many people were standing there? Mayor Adams is saying, what he's saying is that based on all of those things you're asking, it's taking up too much time for an individual to sit there and go through all those questions. If you got
Charles.
Yeah, I'm just telling you what they said.
No, I know what you're saying, but I'm just saying, why are we wasting time getting the information on that when we need to be getting these guns off the street and stuff, or doing something for our young people to stop all of this black on black crime? Who needs to know who on the corner and what they doing or what they said, as long as they not bothering or bothering anyone or anything like that? I don't understand this information. What are they going to do with it when they get it?
Well, the issue is, it goes back to the point where people feel they're being harassed. Why are you asking me for my ID? Why you want to know where I'm standing here? This is a free country. I stand where I want. What do you want from me? Those are the things the city council is saying, that people who are their constituents are being harassed.
I have to cut you, Charles. We got to hold that thought. I'm sorry. We got to take a quick break. We're going to be right back.
All right.
It's Shannon. It's Shannon.
I'm an ex-drug dealer, and I'll be your sub today. 2 milligrams of fentanyl can be lethal. A lethal dose is in here. Who gets it, I won't know.
It's cheap, it's potent, and it's profitable. The sad reality is, fentanyl is being mixed into everything now.
More kitchen now.
If you're just joining us, our special guest today is MIchelle Randall-Williams and Mr. Charles Billup, and we're talking about this police transparency. Charles, you were saying before we went to break.
Well, all right. Well, put it this way: city council people are saying that they don't want their constituents or people in their districts or communities being harassed by the police department. They are acting now based on what the police guide is saying. They only reading off and they're using off what the police guide is given, or maybe they might be reading it the wrong way. But either way, based on how they're reading it, they're saying that they are entitled to this information to find out from NYPD how many people are being questioned, how many people are being stopped, and everything else. Now the mayor's agreeing with the level 1, with the level 2s and the level 3s. Those are the more severe interactions. But he's saying now that the level 1s, as you mentioned earlier, that those petty things is going to tie up the system, and that's basically what they're saying. So now, what I'm saying is that what they should do is that they have opportunity now to clear this up. The city council passed it. Mayor Adams vetoed it. It comes back up to see if they're going to overrule his veto. During this window of time, there is an opportunity where they can make some changes or make some amendments where the mayor can say, all right, I'm happy with this. Let's go forward. This is probably the best time if they want to get past, as you would say earlier, the child play. If they need to correct that now, this is best time to sit down and say, all right, how can we fix this, or how can we come to a common ground area where everybody can be happy?
So I want to ask someone, guys. So if suppose they don't come to a common ground, right? How does this affect not just the relationship with law enforcement, the community, but the safety of community?
Well,
go ahead, Michelle.
It's bridging a wider divide because, as it is, the community feels that this is just another form of implication of stop and frisk, which should be our law. Now, there are teams out there still doing the same stuff that stop and frisk is just a new name, but this is going to make the wedge in it wider because, for one thing, there's really not a true reflection of the community. So it's city council, it's political arena, and it's the police department. Where are the community activists? Where are the community groups and associations that have something to say? So if anything, like they do all these town hall meetings and all this stuff like that, they all need to come together because city council feels that they're representing the community. The police department is over protecting the community, and a lot of their family comes right from the community. So if they all don't come together, all the stakeholders are not addressed, then it's going to just put a bigger, wider bridge in between the relationship between the police department and the community. And then you're going to see the cycle of crime going up. Because when people are not comfortable with the police department or they feel that they can't trust them, then they don't give them the information needed. Police can't be every place all the time, 24/7, right? And we need the community to give the information or show us the way to find these little niches that are creating the crime, the little troublemakers, the problems, where the guns are hidden and stuff. And because we can't be in everybody's house. So if they don't come together, and also representation of the community boards or the activists that's in the communities that are tired of the gun, or they had in the press conference, they had the bodega owners and people like that. They're afraid, they don't want them to come into the stores. These group of kids are coming in there. And I'm not just saying kids, people coming, ripping off, taking things, because they know there's not going to be any police, retaliation or any type of police intervention, because they just keep doing it. And now if we get tied up with, the police get tied up with additional divide with the community, the people that's helping us, the eyes and ears that's out there that make law in the city streets safe.
So what would you, Michelle and Charles, say? Okay, so we say, okay, they should come together and come to some solution. What solution do you think it would be? If they could sit down like grown folks and talk it out, whatever they need, what is the solution that they need to come to? Because like I said, I just don't see the misdemeanor stuff getting in the way of the big issues that we have. So what kind of solution do they need to come to?
They need to come to a clear objective of what are they trying to obtain, because it hasn't been clear to me. I don't know if it's clear to anybody else. I don't know if it's clear to you, Charles, or what the mayor said and what city council, what they're arguing and fighting about. If the objective is to have safe streets and the community be safe, then what they need to do is come on. How can you obtain that? It's a lot of data on the body worn camera. Okay, I know there's a lot of issues with it, privacy and so forth on both the ACLU. Okay, say about privacy for the police officers or whatever. And then there still is the problem of the transparency, because the police department has the 72-hour still rule. I think that's still in effect. So they say, well, listen, that gives them time to get everything together, get the officers, case together if he did something wrong, and then to, get it all straightened out before you even get any evidence or any type of the body camera. So the solution, I think, would be to use the body cameras. You working for that time, you working the time, that set time, have the body cameras all the time, and that if it's turned off, that you can't turn it off unless it's for a personal or whatever that, but it's recorded in an independent source.
Well, you know what? I was going to say the same thing. I have a audience person came on, Qian came on and said, I was thinking the same thing.
Yes.
To me, it's a whole political thing. That's all it is, because it's time for elections. And if you notice, every time there's an election, somebody starts something to make the other person look bad because they are running for that person's position. That's what it always looks like to me. And I think this is what this is about again.
Absolutely.
Is because the person also wants to run for mayor at some point or whatever. And it always seems that it just comes up at a certain time when it's totally unnecessary. And then, well, before you was talking about defunding the police department. And so we got past that stage. Now we're talking about the transparency. I mean, what is going to be next? Because my issue is if something happens, who am I going to call? I'm going to call the police department. That's what I'm going to call. I ain't calling Ghostbusters anybody like that. We going to call the police. So we need to get this mess straight with the police, because we need the police regardless. I don't care what you say.
Well, that's one of the things I want to just piggyback what Michelle said. When you talk about all these advocate groups to these other organizations, the thing is that when these organizations are working in silo, right, they only come out when it's a communal event or something happens, or if it's something against the police, or something that when police have already been judged, whether it's a shooting or something else. So where are they collectively when you want to focus on transparency? And these are kind of issues I'm hearing as well. It's a political stunt. It's an issue, and there's a lot of things that's right in Jumaane Williams' favor. If Eric Adams is either convicted of his situation or no longer be able to run, he has much to gain. And this is the thing that they're playing on the minds of the community. So my thing is, are you ready for the community?
Right.
Well, if you want me to answer, go ahead, Michelle.
Charles.
Charles and I had talked about this before, that if you lose sight of the objective, okay, and is a political time. This is what there's only a few things that the politicians talk about: education, housing, and the safety of the police. The safety of the community is the biggest thing the political people run on, because people are fearful. People are fearful, and they're going to say, oh, wow, he's doing something about getting us together and keeping us safe. And so, as you said, it's just a political circle and a circus, but people don't soon forget. You have to realize that the issues have to come from you. You have to look in the mirror, even if it's just for a social event or something like that. You have to be instrumental. You have to look in the mirror and say, what is going to be the best thing? Because the political arena is set up.
Who has to look in the mirror, Michelle? Who?
The community has to.
The community people? Oh, okay.
Because the police department is going to be the police department for whatever rules they say. And like you just said, you're going to run to the police. But the people in the community live in the community. He has protection. Jumaane has protection. And they don't have to worry about the gun.
Well, what you say, Charles, because they got a whole lot of stuff going on in the corrections now about changing how they doing things over there now. And that's bad.
But let me just touch on one thing, what y'all talked about. You see, today's time is totally different from what it was 10, 15, 20 years ago. You got a totally different movement of younger people who think totally different from, I would say, from the average person that's at least 45 and older. They think totally different. They in a different mode. They built differently, and they just react differently. So, and keep in mind, majority of the city council now are young people. These are the young people who's been part of that so-called movement over the last several years that want to see some drastic change in criminalization, as they would say, in the idea of dealing with law enforcement and all these other items and other things they always wanted. So now they are trying to push their will and also bring about whatever change it may be. But the thing is now is that regardless what anyone may say, it is some idea of transparency. The problem, what they are looking at now, the younger people, particularly some of those younger council people, is looking at the history of what PD was years ago. And they shouldn't be doing that. They should be trying to allow NYPD to evolve to what it should be today. And the best way of doing that is making sure those people come to the table. I mean, you mentioned in the idea of correction. Now, in the idea of correction, things should be dealt with a little better. The problem was over the last several decades in correction, it never evolved to what it should be in the idea of today.
Well, I'm gonna have to stop you there, Charles, and hold that for our after show, because we're getting ready to go into our after show, but we've got to end the show at this point. That ends the first part of our show. So we want to thank everyone for joining us, and if you can stick around for our after show, we're coming right back with that. But thank you for joining us today. We want to thank our guests, MIchelle Randall-Williams and Mr. Charles Billop, for coming on and talking to us and clearing up some of the information that we didn't know about policing transparency. So thank you for joining us, and you can always see us on Saturdays at 5:30 and Brick Arts Media and 2:30 on M&M, and every Tuesday at 8 p.m. on Facebook and YouTube. So as always, we'll see you next time.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for inviting me.
Today's show is sponsored by Abu's Bakery. If you have a sweet tooth, stop by Abu's Bakery for some delicious cakes and pies.
Would you like beautiful pictures for your home or your office? Then stop by Faith Art Gallery. They have a large selection of pictures from around the world.
It's Shannon. It's Shannon. It's Shannon. It's Shannon. It's Shannon. Keeping it real.
Today's show.
Hi, we're back for our after show. We hope our guests stayed around so we can talk to them, MIchelle Randall-Williams and Mr. Charles Billop. Are we still there?
Yes.
Yes. I didn't know what was going on here. I didn't see anybody.
No, we here.
Yeah, now we had to end the first part of the show, but I wanted to ask Mr. Charles, you was getting ready to talk about the correction, because the thing about it is, it seems like we just go from one extreme to the next. Now we're going to talking about the correction, what you were saying, like all the stuff even that's going on over there now that they don't want happening. They don't want the people, the violent people put in away from the other inmates and things like that. Like, what are you supposed to do when, people are going to get hurt, people are going to get injured, you don't have enough staff, at the corrections department, and sometimes even at the police department, you don't have enough staff. So it's like we go backwards instead of going forward. And it's always people that just want to make some noise and then it's not going to do anything to resolve the issue.
Well, there's two parts to this. The first part is that correction department, I'll go back to Giuliani and Bloomberg and even de Blasio. They should have prepared the department to evolve to what it should be today. Now, being today is a different time. We're dealing with different types of people. As I mentioned earlier, we're dealing with the younger people who act and think totally different. And they tend to be more violent at times based on how the criteria are set up. The problem they're having outside of the department not evolving to what it should be today is that the people who are running it are now trying to play catch up. But then in the meantime, you have city council and you have these outside entities who want to shut it down, who want quick answers today, which will never happen. They are so focused on closing Rikers instead of trying to fix what's going on today and worry about closing it tomorrow. They need to make people comfortable and they need to make people safe, whether they incarcerated or the staff that's working there. I mean, those are some of the biggest problems that are going on. Right now, based on this legislation that was passed, it was based on solitary confinement. There is no solitary confinement. Really, it was never was any. I think they watched too many Shawshank Redemption movies. But in the idea of it now, they're really talking about, it started off as punitive segregation. Punitive segregation was set up in a way where you had violent people who attacked other inmates or incarcerated people, or they was attacking staff where they had to isolate these individuals because they was violent. The thing is now is that what Jamani and the city council is saying, and this is what they added in their legislation, was that they didn't want these individuals locked up for a long period of time. Right now, based off what I got, is they are being locked down for somewhere around 10 plus hours a day, where they literally inside a cell area to prevent from harming anyone else, whether the person is detained or staff. So in his legislation, he wanted to reduce those hours from 10 plus hours to somewhere around 4. He want them locked, because he's saying because of the mental issue that's dealing with the person being locked down for a long period of time. I understand those things and I can see those things happening, messing with a person's head and mental. But the thing is now is that how do you deal with individuals who keep repeating the same old violent acts against other individuals? You got to deal with them somehow. So the thing is now is that they got to look at it in a way, or they got to come up with some kind of progressive way, or where they can lock these individuals down and deal with them on an ongoing basis. It should be psych services or some kind of medical staff should be available for these individuals to evaluate them on an ongoing basis. They should have, but it's not really like that. And then on the other hand, the other part of the bill, Mayor Adams was complaining about was about when they was transporting prisoners on the buses. He was saying that when they transport these people on the buses, the legislation is telling them that they're not supposed to handcuff the individuals while they ride in the bus. And then he used a comparison when somebody gets locked up or arrested, they get locked up and they get placed in the police car. He said that same concept should be for the buses too also. They should be handcuffed. Over the years and decades, it's always been where these individuals were handcuffed inside of a bus. And that was done for different reasons. It was done for reasons to prevent people from escaping. It was done for reasons to prevent the incarcerated people or the people detained from attacking staff that was riding there. I can recall years ago where you had people or incarcerated people who wanted to escape off the bus. No more than a month ago in Brooklyn Supreme Court, one jumped out and got out from the handcuffs and he crashed the bus into the building. So it should be, all right, how can we fix this? How can we make this better? No one's saying that. No one wants to say, stop, slow down. We need to talk about this. And that's not being happening.
Well, of course, I can't even understand why would they want to have them ride in the bus and not be handcuffed when they know that they could easily attack the driver and cause an accident or anything if they want to escape or whatever. I mean, that doesn't even make any sense to even say.
Well, it's like a back and forth, like a pivoting back and forth between the two. Jamani's saying that the mayor, the public advocate is saying that the mayor is exaggerating it, and the mayor is saying that this is in the legislation. So, like I said earlier, when you're up first part of the show, this is probably the most unique time where they can lower those flags, sit down, take a deep breath, and say, all right, let's fix this the correct way. This way here, everybody can benefit from it. Because right now, I'll be honest, seem like they forgetting what the real purpose is.
And
Right. I just wanted, go ahead, Michelle. I want to just piggyback on something that Charles said.
no, I'm just saying, like when we started out earlier, they are losing focus of the objective. And as Charles said, the last 3 mayors have been focusing on Rikers Island for whatever reasons, but I don't think it's for the right reasons. As Charles said, this is the place, they've tried to say put a prison in each one of the boroughs. Nobody wants that. But instead of containing them where prime property is and real estate is like that, the objective is not to keep it safe and to keep the inmates in focus and giving them the issues that they need. I believe it's really a hidden agenda to get them out of there and make that a private island for.
Absolutely.
Oh yes, exactly. That's what was said.
Yeah, it's a land grab. Huh?
Exactly.
That's
I just
what
wanted
was
to add
said.
on something. I just wanted to add on something that Charles was saying in terms of the conditions at Rikers. I understand that Rikers like a full, like a full for all, right? When correction officers getting attacked. Okay, I can understand no lockdown 10 hours, but that mental health component that you're talking about needs to be addressed long before they get to Rikers. Right. When you look at the mental institutions and the segregation and the lack of services thereof in marginalized, disproportionate community, that's where your problem lies. Right. That's one of the problems. So now get into correction. Why is it that all the inmates have to be out at the same time? Why can't they have certain blocks with certain time and people could have certain time out? Because it gives the officers are outnumbered, right? They're outnumbered. They could easily lose control of a situation, especially if they're on some type of substance or under the influence of something, and things can go quick from 0 to 360 right away. But the thing is, I think even in Rikers, they should have some kind of purpose of being there. I understand for the juvenile, to my understanding, that they are mandated to have some type of educational services available. What about the adults? Are there any type of services available for them so they can kind of wean off and reduce this recidivism? Because this has become a resolving door. And in lieu of that, you have all these individuals keep going back and forth to jail. It ties up the court system. You're not seeing a judge or a hearing for months and months and sometimes years, and all these things going. So it's a bigger problem just outside of just trying to relocate them and focus on the prime property that they have a larger objective to.
Well, you have to keep in mind, let's go back a few decades. Over the last 3 to 4 decades, they've been slowly eliminating the programs on Rikers Island. Right. It started under Giuliani, and it just went right along. Even though the prior mayor, before Mayor Adams, he wanted to shut down. He's claiming he wants to do all these things, but he never brought back any programs. He never did. He was more focused on shutting it down and building those borough-based facilities. Now, the saddest thing about it, they did a study, and they had this commission to form, and they did this broad study saying that they will want to build these jails and tear down the borough jails first, which is costing them over $20 million per facility. Right now, Brooklyn House is being torn down, and they spend millions and millions of dollars. But the thing is now is that to build these new facilities, first it started out somewhere around 7 to 9 billion, and then it mushroomed to 11 billion, and now the number is even higher than that. And the issue is now the question is where the money's going to come from. And on top of that, it was set up where it was supposed to be done, and these borough-based facilities is supposed to be built by 2027, which we all know that would never happen. This is New York City. They can't fix a highway. They've been working on the Brooklyn-Queens Expressway longer than my age. So the issue is now is that it would never happen. So again, it's about being realistic. It's about being open-minded to how things should be done. Now, fine. Should the jails be updated? Yes. Should it evolve to what's going on today? I would say yes. The problem is that things are one-sided. You got city council who's supposed to be serving the communities, and their constituents is more or less dictating how they want it to go. My thing is they should slow down, take the time, and speak to the people who are literally on Rikers Island. Now, you can't always go by a one-sided thing. it should be a joint issue. A joint issue or a joint effort of the idea of trying to make sure things are being dealt right with the people who are incarcerated. As you mentioned earlier, true. The kids at the age of 16 and under, supposed to get some kind of education. They're supposed to be going through some kind of educational process.
The thing about that, Charles, is, and I'm saying this to all of you, because my thing is, just like you were sitting there saying about the jails, how much money they spending for the jails. Why are we spending all this money building jails and more jails and more jails rather than taking that money, putting it in the school system where these kids can be educated, get some programs for prevention to keep their little butts from going into being incarcerated and going to Rikers Island? That's where the money should be going at. And these parents also need to be held accountable for what their kids are doing, because this is not happening either. But I know parents have a hard time. I know a lot of us is in single parent, but a lot of us have raised our kids in a single parent. It's like the kids are out of control and the parents are scared of the kids. So now we got all these young people running wild, doing what they want to do. Now we building more jails and more jails and more jails, you know what? Rather than putting some prevention out there to stop all of this, so they don't have to be incarcerated. Because you know what, I can just imagine a 15, 16-year-old kid out there in Rikers Island. If they wasn't mentored before they went there, I know they'll be mentored before they get out.
But you know what? When we talk about these building jails, you know what's going to happen? The city have outsourced private land, right? Rikers Island and city jail has become privatized. It's going to become profitable. You have more jails. That's where the money is going to come from. They're not going to make it with that they're going to invest into the school system, education system. They're not going to invest in trade schools. They're not investing in services on Rikers Island, because the recidivism is not a big problem for them until it hits their front door.
And right? They compounded the problem with the state.
Exactly.
Legalizing this smoking. Look at all these kids out there getting high. They don't want to go to a job. They can't. Their mental capacity for to being sitting in a class studying stuff like that is gone. They have anxiety. They have whatever, and they're getting high all day, sleeping all night or all day. They don't get up to go to school. And look, the city council haven't even passed anything. So it wasn't, the objective is gone. It was meant to say that they're going to come out of jail, come out of Rikers for minor crimes like, marijuana and all the stuff that they went in there for, come out and they can make some money off it. Where is this money going to? All these illegal pop-up shops and stuff like that, they don't have any rules or any type of, it's almost like the lottery with the education. Wasn't the lottery set up to go into education? Our school systems are still failing. And where's this money when there's billions and billions of dollars people can win on the lottery? Where is the money going if the school system, they say the average high school student dropout rate is they never get out of, it's like 85% of a dropout rate before high school. So how?
Well, that's what we said, Michelle, what you just said. Then that's the stuff that the city council should be looking at, rather than you looking at little mediocre stuff like you talking about with the police taking down somebody's name and stuff. You should be holding the Board of Ed account for the money that you give them for the education system and everything. This is what I'm saying. The mindset is just like Vanessa said, it's about money. It's about money. And nothing is gonna change because it's about how much money they can get. Because if they want to stop guns from coming in the country, they could stop guns from coming in the country. But they're not going to stop anything that makes money. The drugs make money. That's why they made the cannabis and stuff legal, because they can get money off of it. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been legal. You'd have still been locked up for smoking a reefer, a joint, or whatever.
Yeah,
their mind is not on anything but making money, and that's the end of it.
Yeah,
that's
but
it.
The saddest part about, even with the cannabis, you have tons of illegal shops opening up. They pay a small, the city shuts them down. They pay a small fine, and then they open back up 2 weeks later in the same location. And you have some of these pop-up shops that are making more money than the legal shops. So it is something that should be dealt with and talked about the right way. But right now, everything should be more based on if going back to our original conversation is in the idea of transparency for NYPD and the idea of, all right, what can we do to help correction evolve to where people are getting the proper services and also they are being protected and the staff is also being protected. No more than a week and a half ago, a correction officer got his arm broke. I mean, literally broke.
Yeah.
And the thing is now is that what's going to happen? The thing is now is that because of the new rules or just a lot of the legislation that has been created dealing with correction, it sends a bad message because the same stuff we watch on TV, the people who are incarcerated is watching it too. So now they're thinking that I can just go hurt someone and nothing's going to happen to me. But you have to keep in mind though, the jails is just like the streets. You got a lot of peer pressure going on from the gangs that are in there. You have a lot of social issues that are going on. I'm talking about I'm not even talking about the mental issues. I'm talking about the other items. There are dozens of other items that cause people to act up, to act wrong, and do bad things. So the thing is now is that, and this is what's been happening over the years, is that they've been closing these state facilities to deal with the mental health people, which they should need to open back up and try to get some of these people help. But keep in mind, the biggest headache now they have in trying to focus on the mental health is that they got to focus on the migrants first because they need housing and other things like that. So the issues are mushroom. So, but
well, look,
now,
we're not look. we're over our time. We're not going to solve anything tonight because the city council is not looking to solve anything of what we know needs to be solved. We know they're not going to come together to try to do the right thing because there's always a reason behind everything, and most of us know what the reason is. So, we just have to really, pray for our city, pray for our children, because I don't even know what to say at this point. All I know is that something needs to be done. Parents need to get control of their kids. Why do you want to see your kid go out there to get in trouble and get incarcerated? We got to do better. We got to do better with everything that we've been talking about. So, look, thank you so much, for taking the time to come on and to share this information with us. I mean, really, really appreciate it. And let's just hope, the public advocate and our mayor can come together, to resolve this issue with the policing and stuff, because, we need the police. Let's don't say we don't need them, because we do need the police officers. Because I remember further back, we need to go back to that community policing where they're in their community, where you can walk up to the officer and talk to them and, they get to know you and you get to know them. That's what we need to get back to. So look, thank you again for joining us. Thank you, audience, for sticking around. And as always, we'll see you next time.
Thank you.